everybody, welcome to ChiuStream, talking about art and life as an artist. Here's your host, artist and educator Bobby Chiu.
Hey everybody, and welcome to ChiuStream. Now that I've interviewed over 100 artists and have had my studio for over a decade, I've seen a lot of really amazing artists fade into the distance. Most hover around the same place that they were 10 years ago, and some that continue to get better and better. The big disadvantage that comes with success that I kind of want to start off this stream with is this topic of complacency. You know, you see amazing champions. I love watching UFC, and a lot of times you see these amazing champions, and the only reason they lose, you could see it, is that they got complacent. They didn't have that fire anymore. They stopped keeping that hunger to keep advancing. Stay with, or better yet, improve the practices that got you to where you are today. If it's posting artwork regularly, keep doing it. If it's going to life drawing regularly, then keep doing that. If it's making YouTube videos, then keep doing that. Sometimes we're going to go on a schedule that can't be sustainable because it's just too intense. If that's the case, then calibrate it. But just make sure that you're going on an upwards trend. Still appreciate the victories. Appreciate the small victories. Celebrate the big victories. But make sure your practices are keeping you on an upwards trend. And let's not act like we've made it. There's no such thing. When we catch a big wave, surfing, do we stop because we made it onto that wave? No. The world keeps moving, so we keep surfing those waves. If you feel burnt out, rest a while, get that mind right, and start getting yourself ready to jump back in the water again. Because if you're like me and you don't want to live an average life, that's what it takes. The best thing of all is that we're all capable of putting in that effort, so it's all very much doable for everybody. And without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Thierry Lafontaine. He's the Imaginism artist that runs the Schoolism house in Saint-Julien, just outside of Montreal. We accept 4 artists at a time, maximum 4 artists at a time, to stay at the house for a 30-day, super intensive art workshop where you would be learning and living with Thierry Lafontaine for 30 days straight. And towards the end of the trip, we also fly in a guest artist to stay with you as well. And Jason Seiler has been staying with the students for the last bunch of days, teaching them and living with them. What an experience. So thank you very much, T, for joining me on the stream today. How's it going, T?
Hey, Bobby.
And a big shout out to a surprise bonus guest today. The one and only Jason Seiler's on the stream with us. Hey, Jason.
How's it going?
If it's your first time on the stream and you're watching the stream, you want to ask a question, the best way to do it is you type in big capital letters question, and then you write in your question, okay? And then we'll be able to see it a lot easier. So, you know, if you caught the stream live, it's very interactive. Feel free to ask any questions. But I want to start off with the very first question, which is, how do you guys keep yourselves not complacent?
So this is Thierry talking. I always take Schoolism classes, and I always try new stuff to learn new stuff. I just recently started learning sculpture.
Yeah, me too, but yours is real, right? Mine's fake. Mine's virtual.
Yeah, I've been seeing it's ZBrush you're using?
Yeah, totally. I'm taking Justin Goby Field's upcoming class. I've gotten to lesson 4, so it's not the best in the world, but, you know, it's happening.
You know, I feel that being a student in art, I think being an artist is always learning and always being a student. And I feel that keeps you not being complacent, because you always tackle new things that are really frustrating, and that makes you grow as an artist, and that keep you in the same. It feels as frustrating as at the beginning when you keep learning new things all the time.
What about you, Jason? How do you keep yourself from not being complacent?
I mean, for me, it's a little bit difficult because I've been very busy with lots of deadlines, which is a good thing. But what I try to do is my biggest passion is painting. I love drawing and I love painting, but painting is something that I think I'll spend the rest of my life trying to figure out how to be the best at painting that I can possibly be. And so I work really hard at trying new things. I play a lot with every medium possible: oil, acrylic, gouache, watercolor, and I try to then take that knowledge into my digital painting, and I'm continuing to try to develop my digital painting as much as possible, that it feels as traditional as possible. But ultimately, what I do is like with the editorial illustration type work, I try every single time to push myself further and further, and to not get comfortable with doing the same old thing. I try, as much as possible. For example, with caricature editorial type illustration work, if I have to paint someone like, Donald Trump or Obama, the last president, I had to paint him so many times. You can easily just do the same thing over and over again, but it's more interesting and more challenging if every single time you have to draw that person, you take it to another place, try something different. And so yeah, that's pretty much.
And just to help to kind of toot your horn a little bit, because, we've known each other for over a decade now, you've definitely evolved your game as well, because before it was very much about characterized kind of illustrations, and now you've gotten heavy into beautiful portraitures and things like that for Rolling Stone and Time Magazine, and that's opened up a whole new avenue of possibilities because you weren't complacent. So I just wanted to kind of mention that as well. You're doing it through your work, which is even more effective because you're getting paid for it. And then that encourages you to stretch your potential even more. No, that's true. Right on. So let's go on to the first question. We have a bunch of questions. There's a bunch of questions from last week as well, so let's burn through a bunch of these. First one is from Vishal, and this person writes, when you find some good style, how do you avoid not getting influenced by it too much? You know what I mean? Like, I think this person's talking about being afraid of kind of becoming a washed down version of somebody that they admire, which I think we've all kind of been there. We've all gone through our little stints of really delving into artists' work and really trying to figure it out, and therefore kind of, doing studies, and that influences us, right?
I got a good trick for that. I do studies from other artists, and I avoid doing studies from just one artist. So by doing studies from many different artists, you take stuff you like from one, another thing you like from another one, another thing you like from a third one, and then it becomes your personality and your style. Like, for example, I love Carter Goodrich. I love the way he does the textures and the proportions of his character. I like Doug Sneed. I love the way he draws the women, the way he draws the mouth. I like Len Norris. I love the proportion of his characters. There's huge things and very skinny stuff. And I find all this stuff makes my style, because I like different things about these different artists. But if you do studies just from one artist, then you risk to look like a not as good version of that artist. But if you keep doing study from a bunch of different artists, you totally don't fall into that trap.
Keep mixing it up. I love it.
Yep.
Let's go on to the next question, because there are a whole bunch. Next one I'll take, and that's just, is there any news on Ian McKegg's class? Ian McKegg, the elusive unicorn I've been trying to capture. Not capture, but tame and spill his knowledge for all of us to learn. Still on it, still on the hunt. You know me, very patient person, and so we have a scheduled appointment to meet up and talk about his class. So I'm very excited about that. When's it coming out? I have no idea. Some classes take years to kind of come together because of scheduling and whatever. Next question, I'm going to give this one to Jason, which is coming from Red Ruby. And Red Ruby asks, how do you avoid burnout?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, there's a couple different ways to answer that question. One, it's different for me because I'm grateful that it actually is my career. So I don't really have a choice. Sometimes even when you're super dead tired and you have a deadline, you have to get it done. That's just the bottom line. And sometimes it can be really difficult to be creative in those situations. But as far as like how to not burn out, are they saying like you get to the point where you're just so done with it? I mean, I don't know if that's exactly
Yeah,
what...
well, I gave this question specifically for you because you seem always so darn busy, so many deadlines, and yet you keep going. How do you stop from not just grabbing a shotgun and just going crazy, going postal?
Well, you know what? I just really love what I do. And I don't, I don't know. I don't really feel that I get to a point where I feel burned out. I definitely get exhausted, but I guess one thing I could say is like recently I did a job where I had to do a bunch of portraits and they were very, very boring because they wanted them to be super, super realistic, and I basically, they just wanted me to like recreate these old photos which were bad quality and make them look really nice. And so as an artist creatively, I felt very, very bored and yeah, I just like every time I went into the studio, I had to really make myself want to do it or to be there when I didn't have any interest in it at all. So that's just frustrating, and I guess what I do to get through that is I realize, hey, I got to get this job done so I can get on to the next one that's going to be more fun. And or one thing that I do, even sometimes when I don't have the time to do it, but I realize I'm so bored with this job and I just got to get it done. So what I do is for maybe a half an hour or so in the morning, maybe an hour, I'll just do a drawing or a painting or a study just for me. And it just makes me feel happy and creative. And then I go and I work on the job that I don't really want to do,
Well, also, just to touch on what you were saying in the very beginning, that you love your work. You found something that you love, and that is for sure the key ingredient, I think, the most important ingredient to avoid burnout is that you absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's not always going to be, if you're lucky enough to do illustration or animation or, work in the art world, even if it's storyboarding or whatever, you're not always going to, get to work on jobs that are the most awesomest job in the world. A lot of the jobs are going to be things where it's just like, yeah, this is not so cool, but you know what? I'm an artist. I'm working on a job, and then I set aside work for me that I do love. And then every once in a while you get an awesome job that's just so exciting, and then you have all the energy in the world to do that job. So I don't know. It's all good as far as I'm concerned.
Next question. Next question. I'm gonna give this one to T. Okay, this one is from GG Soul Sister. This person asks, I might have asked this question before, but I'm just checking in. I'm 43 now. Is it too late for me to get into the animation industry?
I think it's never too late. I really started doing art when I was 24, and I studied so many things before, and when I found art, I thought that was the perfect thing for me. And when I went to college for it, everyone in my class were like 18, 19 years old, and I felt like I was super old. And when I finished school, I was about 27. And I think the secret to success is persistence and determination. And you're never too old to be persistent and determined.
But you got to put your effort into the right places, right? Like you can't just keep being persistent to try to run through a brick wall.
Yes, which reminds me of a quote from Jason Seiler, which used to say, practice don't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. So it's not just working hard. You gotta work in an intelligent way and put your energy in the right place. And I don't think it's ever too late for that. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but Justin Fields used to deliver pizza, right?
Yeah. What, like maybe 5 years ago, the man was a pizza delivery person, I think for Domino's Pizza, which is, they make great pizza, but that wasn't what he loved. And now, 5 years later, I'm learning from, Justin Fields on how to make ZBrush, how to make ZBrush sculptures. It's amazing what time can do. And Jason, I believe you had somebody extremely, well, I don't want to say extremely old, but like quite an older person a few years back, like the person
in their mid 70s. Yeah.
That was insane. Can you kind of share the?
Well, yeah, that was really crazy because I had no idea. I've been teaching for a while now with Schoolism, and it's cool because you have students from all over the world, but you don't really know unless they come out and tell you that you don't know exactly where they're from or how old they are. And sometimes, depending on names, you don't even know if it's a girl or a guy. You have no idea. You're just, they're just a person and you're teaching them, and it's a great experience. This particular case, this student was very, very new into caricature, but really excited about it. And as the course got on, they were getting better and better and better. So I started pushing harder and harder, and I was demanding more and saying, hey, I want you to do more of this, push it this way, and I was pushing pretty hard because there was so much potential, and the student was doing so well. And I was like, you know what? If you want to make it in the industry, I think you really can. You could probably put together a nice portfolio, and I could really see you, getting some illustration work down the line if you keep doing this. And then finally, the guy's like, hold on. I'm a 70-something-year-old guy. I'm just doing this for fun because I like to draw, and he's like, I don't need the assignment to be so difficult, and and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, and he just wanted to do it because he wanted to learn and he was having fun, and it was awesome. It's super inspiring too.
It's incredible. It's like he spent all of his life doing something else to wait till he's 70 to do something that he loved, and he ended up being awesome at it.
And digital too.
Incredible.
He taught himself, digital, which, in their 70s, it's one thing, I'm terrible with computers. And this guy just decides, you know what, I'm going to learn about digital artwork when I'm in my 70s. That's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. Let's go on to the next question here. Realista asks, I'm going to the Florence workshop. Do you have any tips on how to get maximum benefit from the workshop? Talk to everybody that you know, or talk to everybody that you see. Talk to and be prepared with your portfolio on your little mini iPad, or bring a portfolio, bring some business cards, and just be ready to just talk with everybody. That's the thing that has always helped me the most, just because I like to meet people and I like to talk with them. It doesn't matter who they are. that's how you're going to get the most out of it. Whatever you think you want to do, and you might be a little bit afraid or shy to do it, punch that voice in the face and just go up to the person and start talking. All right, let's go on to the next question here. So this person goes, I'm working on creating frightening aliens for games. It freaks me out. How do you press through making something difficult to look at? How do you know it's good if it's off, if it's creepy? Let's give this one to any one of you guys, whoever wants to answer this one.
Well, man, I gotta say this. I don't want to get into anything political because that's no fun. We all know that's a sucky topic, especially right now. But when I do caricature illustration, there's a lot of times where I have to paint and draw people that I can't stand. But I gotta say though, I got a little, I've never painted something that was so scary that it freaked me out. But I definitely have painted people that are kind of annoying to have to look at. But because I am doing it caricature, I actually it's actually almost therapeutic because I get to destroy them in a way. So, but I've never. That's interesting. If you're drawing something that actually scares you, and I mean, you must be doing some pretty crazy, awesome, scary drawings.
Yeah. Next question. I'm going to give this right back to Jason. This one's a good one. This person says, I'm an illustrator for a self-publishing house where output is the key. The amount of output is key. With our timelines, it limits creativity and feels stale. How do I get the attention of the bigger fish for freelance? Because I've seen your career go from somewhat of the beginnings to all of a sudden painting, people are the person of the year for Time Magazine and Rolling Stone and all these things. Perhaps we can give Susan Shorter some advice on her question.
Okay, well, for me, it was all about knowing what I wanted and then going out and getting it. And Even though I don't, I'm not in Rolling Stone magazine every single issue. Every issue that comes out, I look and see who they're using, and I'm very aggressive I'm very competitive. So I see different artists that are being being published, and I'm like, okay, well, in a sort of sense, I kind of amp myself up to make sure that I'm going to push myself so that I can become better than what I'm seeing done by other artists. And how can I do that? Or if I see another artist that's just killing it, like, wow, all right, I need to up my game a little bit. But the main thing that I would say is you should, with every single piece you do, you should be competing with the last piece you did or the best piece you did. You should always try to be better, and never keep the same exact thing going. Like, always push yourself. And every single time you get an opportunity to do an illustration for a magazine or a book, you should always make it a goal that it's going to be the best thing you ever did. It's going to be done on time, and what you want to hear every single time from an art director is, wow, you exceeded our expectations. And that's how you keep getting work. That's how that it opens doors for other jobs. Is you want to like, for example, the last piece I did for Rolling Stone, they gave me a week to do it, but that's the first time, because every other time I did a painting for them, I only had 1 to 2 days to do a painting for them.
Wow.
And so when I got a week to do a painting for them, my goal was, I'm going to show them what they've been missing, and if they gave me a week, this is the kind of quality they would get, instead of just giving me a day. And so I decided to put every single thing I had into that painting. I went above and beyond, and it's one of my favorite pieces I did for them, and sure enough, when I sent it to them, they were like, "Whoa, that's crazy." And I was like, "Well, now maybe they'll give me more than a day or two to do something, you know?"
Yeah, and there's a story that I tell about you. I don't know if you really remember because it was about 10 years ago. You showed me this painting that you did of Napoleon Dynamite for this magazine, and it wasn't the biggest magazine in the world.
Yeah.
He had the tater tots and everything in his pockets, and I was saying, wow, that's awesome. Who did you paint this for? And then you said Mad Magazine, and I was like, really? And you're like, no, I was just joking, but I pretend it's Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, so if you don't mind me asking, how much do you get paid for something like this? And you're like, $10,000. And I was like, really? And you're like, no, but I pretend that because that's what's going to attract those kind of jobs.
Exactly. And that particular job was literally a turning point for me because I had an attitude change. I had done a few covers for them before, and the pay was really low, and I didn't really care as much about the work. And then I literally decided, they gave me this cover with Napoleon Dynamite, and I was like, wow, this is so great. And so mentally, I kind of psyched myself out that I am doing a cover for Mad Magazine because it's something I always wanted to do, and they're paying me a ridiculous amount of money, and I'm going to make this the best Mad Magazine cover ever. And that's exactly how I looked at it. And the crazy thing is I never worked with that magazine again. And the very next client I got was Time Magazine.
Boom.
So it changed everything, that mental attitude, it can be very powerful.
All right, next question. Sophia Harris asks, I've been drawing and painting digitally for a few years now, and I've been trying to get better. What's the best way to study and grow? T-Bear?
So she's been painting digitally for
I think Sophia's main question here is, what's the best way to study and grow?
I feel it's to get out of your comfort zone and to find people that can teach you, that are the people that you really admire and that you want to be like. I find the best way to learn is to get kind of a tutor. When I was in school, that's where I met Bobby. I used to get I had 3 different life drawing tutor at the same time, and one day I saw Bobby come in and teach my tutors. And I was like, who is this guy? I need this guy as my tutor. And then that's how I met Bobby. And we became friends from that. And, when I get guests to come to the Schoolism house, like Jason Seiler, I learned a bunch of stuff from him. I got Andrea Blasish, which I think just opened a class on Schoolism.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
Coming soon. And he came to the Schoolism house as well. And since that day, I'm doing sculpture all the time. I cannot stop doing sculpture. So I find the best way to grow is to always learn. Because the cool thing about art is that you're never done learning. There's always so much you can learn. And to me is to surround myself with a bunch of artists, and you learn from them. You grow all together, exactly how it started at Imaginism. And my personal...
I like that. We're growing old together, T. Like an old married couple.
And we're still going.
Right on.
And my favorite personal place to learn is Schoolism. It sounds like I'm trying to sell something, but the idea of Schoolism is to learn from the best of the best. And it's hard to, for example, it's hard to find good artists to teach you and to become your tutor. You remember one day I went to LA to Nathan's workshop.
Yeah, Nathan Fowkes. Yep.
Nathan Fox workshop, and because I really wanted to learn from him, but to go to learn from him full time would be really hard and probably really creepy for him. That I would just move to LA and like go knock on his door and show him my painting. So part of the reason why I did the trip, the main reason was that I wanted to learn from him. And part of the reason was that I thought the best way to learn from him would be to convince him to do a Schoolism class. So ever since, it's been about 5 years that I'm learning stuff from Nathan. I took all his classes, and the good thing with Schoolism is that you can have a tutor anywhere in the world, any artist that you like, without creeping them up, because you do it from online on your own time. And I think it's perfect for artists like us that want to keep growing, because you can do that on your own time, on your own kind of schedule. So I find the best way to learn is to find professional artists that do what you like and to get them to tutor you.
Yeah, and actually, before the last 2 streams, I was painting nothing but portraits. And where did I go to learn how to paint awesome portraits? From Jason Seiler's class about painting portraits. And a lot of people, they might not know the origins of Schoolism, because Schoolism has been around for over 10 years. It was a means to ends for our own problems, our own challenges of trying to get that knowledge, to get the best, knowledge in the world from the artists that we really admired. So that was the whole entire purpose of Schoolism. It was never to, make a lot of money or things like that. And I think that's why, because it kind of came from this honest goal, this honest place, is why Schoolism has been around for so long and succeeded for so long. This other person asks next, Sean Paints, when is the ZBrush class coming? Well, here's something for all the viewers out there. The ZBrush class that I've been doing with Justin Goby Fields comes out on Monday. People can start registering on Monday, so look out for it. I highly personally recommend this course because I've tried ZBrush a bunch of times. I've tried to learn it, I think 3 or 4 times, seriously, and I gave up every time because it's so daunting. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to press. There's so many functions and everything. But what Justin does is, he will just teach you a few sets of techniques at a time, so you ease into it, and it actually becomes fun. It actually becomes, it makes you feel great because you're surprising yourself, and you're doing things like just beyond your expectations. It gets to a point where it's almost, dare I say, addictive, but in a really good way. So highly recommend it. Everybody's seen all these beautiful illustrations, more and more, that are this hybrid of 3D and 2D, especially for concept art, character design for like live action films, and it's getting more and more into animated films. Highly recommended. Justin Goby Fields worked on things like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, or one of the Planet of the Apes movies, I forget right now, as well as The Wolverine and a bunch of other movies, and the guy's just great. Anyways, let's go on to the next question. Next question is from Dave Carr. So Dave Carr says, I'm starting to transition from Viz Dev for CG animation to live action, but I'm not sure which one is my ultimate goal. How difficult will it be to switch back and forth in the future? It won't be difficult at all. I'll just take this one because it won't be difficult at all. If you're good at either one of them or both of them, it'll be easy to switch back and forth, because that's what I do. So let's go on to the next question here. And I like this question. I'm going to give this one to Jason. So Luis asks, when did you start taking art seriously? I know a lot of artists say always, but I mean to put daily hours into art. When did you start taking art seriously, Jason?
Well, so I know a lot of artists say that, but I was definitely an odd kid, and my dad is an artist and was an art teacher, but I didn't want to learn anything from him when I was a kid. I just wanted to, do my own thing. But because my dad was an artist and he was winning awards and different things like that, I felt a huge kind of, it was almost like I put pressure on myself to be the best I could be in a way, because, my dad's that good. How's it going to look if I'm not a good artist? And when I was a young kid, I took it seriously. So I can honestly say, when I was about 8 years old, I mean, I was drawing my entire life, but around 8 or so is when I was like, I am an artist. And I took it very seriously. And by the time I got into like middle school, I had a studio set up, and my parents had to like force me to go outside and play with other kids. And I would play outside for like 25, 30 minutes, get bored, and I'd be back in my room, drawing comics or making my own characters or whatever it was. But I was obsessive to the point of I even got grounded once from drawing because my dad took me to the movie theater, and I wasn't even watching the movie. I was sketching in a sketchbook, and he was like, "You're grounded. That's too much." And so I was serious. I didn't know what kind of artist I wanted to be. I just knew that all I wanted to do was draw. And I didn't know what kind of art. I didn't know if, I wanted to be a Disney artist at one point, and all I did was draw, everything Disney, and then I wanted to do comics, so I drew Spider-Man and Batman, and then I got into the Ninja Turtles. And
hey, Jason, you told me one time this awesome story of you painting away as your first daughter was being born.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain that one.
Okay. So before my first daughter was born, she's 13 now. I wanted to be a professional caricature illustrator, similar to like what C.F. Payne was doing, and my buddy Tom Fluharty and stuff like, artists like that. And that's really what I wanted to do. Artists like Roberto Prada, and at the time I was just doing like pen and ink and color pencil, and then maybe I would use some watercolor washes in there. But I was afraid to paint. I had no idea how to paint. It went over my head. It just seemed impossible and too difficult to learn how, and I was just afraid of it. And so I kind of just, it was kind of weird. I was kind of just avoiding that for so long. And then the night that my wife at the time, she was about to go into labor, and she was having contractions, and her friend came in there, and she said, "Oh, you're going to go into the bathtub and in some warm water. If the contractions keep going on, then you're having this baby tonight. If they stop, it's a pre-labor or a false labor thing." And so anyways, they're in the bathroom doing that, and I am in my living room having a mental breakdown, freaking out, because all of a sudden I realized I started having a lot of negative thoughts, like I'm not an artist. I can't even paint. And this is a joke. I need to get a real job. How am I going to take care of this kid? I'm not even a real artist. I've been faking myself out this whole time. And then I decided, I was telling myself, like, all these artists that I look up to that are being published on a regular basis, they're all painting. They're doing paintings. Every magazine illustration, it's a painting, and I can't compete with this unless I learn how to paint. And so I decided right there, while she was in pre-labor, I'm going to do my first painting. And I went to my studio and I got a bunch of watercolors, and I ripped out a page from a magazine, and it was Owen Wilson, and I did my first painting right there and then while she's in the bathroom doing her pre-labor stuff. And then she comes out and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm painting." And then that night, my daughter was born, and so it's pretty cool because every year that it's her birthday, it's sort of like my birthday as a painter, because I've never stopped painting. Even the next day, even though we were tired and came back from the hospital, I did my second painting, which was 50 Cent. I did another watercolor. And every day I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, because I was determined that I am going to figure this out and I'm going to be the best that I can do, that I can be at it. And then I went from watercolor to, okay, I'm going to be brave now and I'm going to start painting opaquely. And I'm going to learn how to do that. And, and I just kept going, and I'm still doing it. I'm still pushing my painting, trying to become better every single painting.
I love it. Amy asks, I'm struggling between focusing on my portfolio for 2D graphic styles to get into studios in Canada like DHX, but my goals are to work for Disney and Pixar. Which should I focus my energy and art on? Well, I think this person kind of answered their own question. If your goal is to work at Disney and Pixar, you do whatever it is that will get you one step closer to that. If you are going towards 2D graphic styles because of the security, because you are kind of afraid that you won't get a job, I would say follow your heart, because like we were saying earlier here, to get to those high levels of intensity, of passion and all that stuff, to avoid burnout, you gotta love it. You gotta love what you're doing. So go for your goals. There's so many questions here. Let's go on to the next one. Next one is from our friend Noah, who is saying, have you ever felt a certain routine or practice that used to work well for you has stopped doing that? How do you go about adjusting, or as Bobby said, recalibrating? Yeah, it's kind of like working out almost, like you keep doing those bicep curls and yeah, my biceps are getting bigger now, but if that's all you're doing, it's not really gonna make immense growth, right? You gotta switch it up. That's the whole entire point of it. You gotta keep switching up your routine. Like for me right now, it's all about ZBrush. Whatever it is, I'm just trying to incorporate ZBrush in there and just slugging through some bad sculpts before I get to good ones. I know the good ones are gonna be out there. Right, next question, I'm gonna give this one to T, which is, Isabella asks, how do you not charge too much? I charge a lot. Hold on. I charge myself a lot of all the drawings that I make come out perfect. How do you deal with this?
I understand.
So you want to kind of reword the question?
Is it how not to charge too much to clients, or to load yourself too much, put too much pressure on yourself?
I think that it's the latter one. This person is saying, how do I kind of not put too much pressure on myself? This person changes a lot of the drawings that this person makes because they want it to be perfect. How do you deal with this?
To me, you can keep working on a drawing or a painting forever if you don't know really what you want from it. But I think to me, art is a form of communication. And before I start a piece, I ask myself, what am I trying to communicate with this piece? And once it's clear that I can I can see that message to my piece, then I know I'm done with that piece. And you could, even to that point, keep working on it forever. I'm not sure if that totally answers the question, but one way is to know once you achieve your goal. And my goal is usually to clearly communicate something with my pieces. And once that I'm doing that, then I know I'm done with this piece. Another thing you could do is that I've been working on doing watercolor little paintings. So I make them very small. They're like 2 by 3 inches. So this way you can do a lot of painting in a smaller amount of time. So, doing one painting a day, it takes you like Nathan Folks, he does it in 20 minutes, but I think that's really good. 1 to 2 hours per painting that I do, and it's just a small painting and it's finished.
Yeah, I like how you put timelines on it. I like how you have like deadlines. It's like, it sounds like that's what that's what helps you, right? It's like,
Yes.
Yeah, you're just thinking about the process of it.
If it takes you too long, you just make a smaller painting. And one thing I do is always make myself believe that I have half an hour to do something. So the quality of the time I put in something, it's really high.
Yeah, same with this sculpture. I would have loved to spend a few days on it, but I only had a certain amount of time. Whatever happens, and I'm just gonna pants down, just show everybody what I made and whether it succeeds or not. I think that was a pretty good kind of practice for me to keep myself going, or else, especially with ZBrush, you could just noodle forever.
Yeah. It looks really cool, Bobby, that sculpture. It looks like you're drawing with the ZBrush tool.
Well, right now I only know a few sets of techniques, so I'm only on lesson like 4 or something like that. So yeah, and I'm not really supposed to be sculpting full figures at this point, but I said screw it, I'm just gonna try. I know it's not the best most effective way to do so.
Hey, I was gonna add to that and say that I think that it's okay to a certain extent to put pressure on yourself. That's a good thing. Pressure's good. Sometimes people want, how do you do like a magazine cover in 2 days, like a crazy deadline? Well, there's a lot of pressure, and once I agree to do that cover, I have no choice but to get that cover done in that amount of time, and it puts a pressure on me that helps me focus. It helps me break apart my day, and I'm giving myself this amount of time to paint the face. I need at least 2 to 3 hours to paint the hands, or whatever it might be, and it helps me to actually get the job done. And then there's jobs where they give me 2-3 weeks sometimes, and I don't feel as motivated. So I think a little bit of pressure is actually a good thing.
It's kind of like a little bit of fire, right?
Yeah.
And then you could cook your food and stuff like that, but if you have too much of a fire, you can't control it, then you probably don't need that fire anymore. It's burning down your house.
Yeah.
Pressure is good. When you get out of your comfort zone, it's frustrating, and you put pressure on yourself. I always take projects that terrifies me, but I know I'll need to step up my game to be able to do it.
Cool. Well, let's go on to the next question. It comes from Billy Young Draws, and Billy asks, how do you maintain a good art / personal relationships like boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, especially when he or she is not an artist? Do you still go out on your dates and draw?
To me, I do a lot of 30-minute studies, and a lot of what I do is based on those 30-minute studies because I don't allow myself more time. Often I take black and white pictures or color pictures.
Yeah, but how do you balance the personal life with the artistic life, though? Especially for you, T. You live in the woods. You paint and draw in the woods in this big, beautiful house. But come on, when you are asking a girl out or something like that, hey, come back to my place, she must, she's driving into the woods. And she must think, oh my gosh, this person might be a serial killer.
They probably think that. But doing the 30-minute studies makes me be faster and faster and faster. So when I do project, I always make myself believe I only have 30 minutes, even though I have 2 hours. And that makes me draw and paint really fast. And that leaves me time to do other stuff, other art stuff, if I'm single, or to go on dates. But there's cool stuff you can do with your girlfriend or stuff, even though she's not an artist. You could paint some cups, some bowls. You could, just going for walks. Like when I see bunch of wildlife and stuff like that just inspire me so much. And it's a fun thing to do with someone that is not an artist. And it gives you a bunch of ideas to do art as well. There's other stuff, experiencing life and trying new things is very inspiring for you as an artist. When I play with my 3-year-old niece, I get so many ideas of stuff to draw. So I think it's a good balance to not only do art all the time, and that fuels your artistic activities to do non-artistic activities.
Yeah, and also, if you break out the paints, you break out the, pastels on your date, that might not be a good thing. It might be kind of cool for like about 2 minutes until the person realizes you're going to spend an hour just sketching whatever you're sketching.
You do a little drawing of a girl of your date when you go on a date. She thinks that's pretty awesome, and you're drawing.
As long as the drawing's good. But otherwise, you can, there's a lot of people that do these certain practices that help them artistically, but they're not actually drawing. Like Glenn Keane is always observing people, always observing their behavior. And you don't need a pencil and pen for that, and he's actually, getting better at art just by observing. A lot of times I'll look at stuff and I'll think about it like, how would that be as a sketch? This scenery that I'm looking at, or what would I do in order if I want to paint this scene? Things like that.
Yeah, life is the best reference for art.
It's the source. It's the ultimate source. So Amy asks, I find that we are attracted to art similar to our own sometimes. How do you make your art and style stand out amongst all the others that feel similar to yours? I feel like I'm being just lumped in. I think that goes back to what you were saying before, T, right? Like to not just study from one person. If you are constantly studying from a bunch of different people, then that's where the individuality will start to come
like
out.
Being yourself.
Yeah, but also, I hear people say this all the time. Like they're worried their style is gonna be the same as, as someone else that they really like. I'm sorry, but you can love James Jean's work as much as possible, but you're never gonna be James Jean. Okay, so you don't really need to worry about it. What you need to do is you need to do thousands and thousands of drawings, and that's where you get your own style, is by doing it over and over and over and over again. And before you even know it, other people are going to tell you, oh, I can tell that was a piece by you. Oh, really? Yeah, because you got a distinct style. Your style and your voice will come out, but you have to put the time and the work into it. And there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with with studying as many artists as possible. I mean, that's a great thing, and you should be doing that. But you have to understand, if this artist that you're studying on a regular basis is really well known, and you know, they're very successful, they have probably, you know, been doing this for a long time, and they also studied artists. But it has to do with how much time you put into it and how much work. And eventually your voice is going to come out. It's going to be yours. And the only way that's going to happen is by time. You have to put the time and work into it.
And also, a cool thing to do is to find who did your favorite artist that you studied from.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they learn from? And then it gives you a better understanding of what they do, and you can discover other artists that you're probably gonna really like to study from in that same kind of essence, without just focusing on the same one artist.
Now, Megan Tupper asks, "Hey Megan, good to see Megan on here. She attended the workshop house as well as Noah earlier. I've been looking up purposeful practice to improve understanding and skills, but I'm still trying to figure out how to apply it. What's the best way to practice a skill or concept that you struggle with?" I think it's you know what? I've always had a big kind of challenge with ZBrush. And the reason why I'm able to do it now is because the understanding and the practice, they're put together, right? It's just like Jason's course. You know, he teaches you a lesson, gives you an assignment, and the assignment is specifically designed to absorb the knowledge that he just gave you. You got to have the two different things. If you just learn every function and how it works and the purpose of it in Photoshop, you're not going to be able to paint digitally still. You need to learn from a digital painter on how they, you know, apply the knowledge, and then, you know, have some sort of exercise that coincides with that knowledge. Let's go on to the next question. So the next question is from Nathaniel. Which one do you think is better to start as an art student? Slow work but good quality, or fast work but lower quality? And how to practice to draw faster? Thanks. Let's give this one to Jason, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, I think it's funny. You know, there's like this thing on Facebook where, you know, a lot of artists they'll, you know, and I've done it before too, where I'll post something and say quick study. Well, it's because it was, you know, a quick study, and I feel it's important to share, you know, your studies and that sort of thing as well. But it almost seems like a competition for some artists. They want to go on there and they show you this thing that obviously took like 2 hours, and they're like, real quick sketch, you know, and you know, it's kind of weird. And I think people put pressure on, like it's like they have to, you know, they want people to be super impressed. But what I would say is, you know, keep a sketchbook or do sketches and studies that, you know, I don't share them. Like, you know, keep something private for yourself that you know, maybe share a bunch later on, but it shouldn't be about like what you know, I'm trying to show off what I'm doing every day. But what I suggest is, you know, it's really good to do a bunch of quick studies, loosen yourself up, you know, thumbnail sketches, exploring possibilities of how you can approach a certain drawing or idea. But then it's also, you know, very good to do, you know, long pieces where you have, you know, you spend a long time, because it's really important to learn how to, you know, basically to build up the discipline that it takes to be an artist. Because if you don't have patience or discipline, that's also a skill that you need to develop and work on as well. That's really important.
And that seems to be a skill that is in decline, the whole entire thing of patience, you know, with nowadays there's a million things that you can do to entertain yourself at an instant notice. You just pull out your phone or whatever. People are lacking the attention span these days. So the ones that work on it are going to have an extreme advantage on people later on.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, Paul asks, hey guys, how would you describe your idea of an ultimate day? Also, hi from South Africa.
An ultimate day? Oh man, from South Africa? I want to go there. I want to go swim with great white sharks. That would be my ultimate day.
Okay, not
no,
mine.
Seriously, I want to cage dive really bad. That's something I really want to do. But anyways, my ultimate day. Well, the best days are for me personally are the days that I get my kids, and so I know I got to get up and work, and I enjoy my work. It's a good day. I make myself a nice lunch. It's good. I got another hour or so to work, and then I pick my kids up from school. That's awesome. And then I go back to work for a couple more hours, and then I get to spend the rest of the night watching movies with my kids. And they're at the age now where I can watch almost any movie, so it's a lot of fun because I get to show them what movies are awesome. And that's the best for me. That's the perfect day.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? Time goes by super quick when we're doing these streams, and we're pretty much out of time. So I just want to thank everybody that has tuned in for the streams, and our special guests that you don't even know we're watching, the in-house Schoolism students. Thanks, guys, for hanging out as well. Right, and of course, the biggest thanks goes out to my two wonderful guests, Thierry Lafontaine, the person that runs the Schoolism house, and the amazing, the incredible, super talented Jason Seiler. Thank you guys for hanging out as well.
Thank you, Bobby.
Of course.
Right on. All right, guys. Well, we'll be here next week with the person that I've been learning from, Justin Goby Fields. He's going to be guest starring on the next stream. That's going to be super fun. So definitely come back. Same time, same channel. Fridays on YouTube. You can, if you're watching this on a podcast or whatever later on, you can search for my YouTube page. Make sure that you click on notify, and then you'll be notified, I guess. I'm not too sure, but you could figure it out. Anyways, okay. So thank you very much, everybody, and see you guys next week. Want more to listen to while you draw and paint? Remember to visit Schoolism.com. You'll find art courses, live workshops, and over 100 free video interviews with many of the top artists in the art industry. Where do professionals go to keep learning? Schoolism.com.